Okay, so the next fight we're going to take a look at takes place this weekend in Denmark. It sees Mikkel Kessler going up against Brian Magee for the WBA World Super Middleweight title. The first thing therefore to note off the bat is that this fight is in Denmark. It's a hometown fight for Mikkel Kessler. He will have the crowd on his side. I actually think this fight could be very interesting, particularly for the first half of the fight, because Brian Magee always comes to fight. This is a big chance for him, this world title fight. He's probably nearing towards the end of his career now, and Kessler, who didn't look particularly good in his last fight, Magee may have been encouraged by that and may see this as a really good opportunity. So I think he's going to give it his all. I think he's going to make a really big effort in this fight. And Magee's never really been the type of guy who just go in there and knock out. He's lost 4 fights. He's been stopped in 2 of those, and they were both late stoppages. Against Cal Froch and Lucien Boutet. 2 guys, no shame in losing to them, and it was these were very late stoppages. We're talking 11th, 12th rounds type stuff. So Magee is quite a warhorse. He's got good attrition. He's pretty durable. And he's a pretty good boxer. He's got some decent skills in there. He is a southpaw. However, for me, he stands quite square. So he's not some sort of elusive southpaw who's creating difficult angles for you and causing your orthodox style to get mixed up, making you confused. So I don't think the stance is going to really trouble Mikkel Kessler all that much in this fight. And Magee is really known for good body punching. It's really his thing. He's hurt guys regularly with body punches, and it's something he really needs to look to vary those punches in this fight. I still think he should go up top, because I think Kessler can be vulnerable there, but I also think he needs to focus on the body as well, because that's where his best work comes from, and he'll be playing to his strengths in this fight. And it's something Mikkel Kessler really needs to take stock of and be aware of, is guarding himself against those good body punches from Brian Magee. Something Magee needs to do is keep his right hand up, because Mikkel Kessler completely starched Alan Green in the 4th round in his last fight with a very swift left hook. Something that Magee needs to focus on avoiding, because it's a very good punch for Mikkel Kessler. And Magee just needs to keep those hands up, particularly that right hand, and it's something that he does tend to do pretty well. So particularly early on in the fight, maybe he might get tired later on, start dropping his hands a little bit, but Magee tends to do very well, particularly early on, is keep his guard up, doesn't do anything stupid, and that's going to, the longer he stays in the fight, maybe that's going to give him more of a chance as the fight goes on. Looking at Kessler, I think Kessler has the better jab in this fight. I think Magee tends to feel with the jab rather than pop it. I think Kessler has, on more occasions, likes to pop the jab, likes to use the jab as more of an aggressive tool rather than a rangefinder. I think that's going to win points for him, and wins rounds for him in this fight, particularly early on, as he uses that jab if Magee's not fighting back. I think he's also a better mover than Magee. I mean, Magee's not a poor mover by any shout, but I think that Kessler is just more fluid with his movements, and he just looks like he's a bit more mobile in the ring. Obviously, I've mentioned the left hook. He needs to watch for those body shots from Magee, and also he needs to range his punches as well, because Lucien Boutet stopped Magee late on with a body shot, and I think Kessler needs to also vary those punches, not just keep going up top trying to catch Magee up top, but also vary the punches as well. Give Magee something to think about as well. He didn't look that good against Alan Green in his last fight, Mikkel Kessler, but you have to remember that Kessler was coming off a long layoff from an injury, eye injury, and he had some ring rust there. He didn't look his usual self. He didn't look at his very best, but he needed to get rid of some of that ring rust. So maybe he's got rid of that now. Maybe he will be able to come in here tip-top shape. Back at that fight was also at light heavyweight, so he probably fought at a slightly higher weight. And Alan Green, if nothing else, has a decent punch. So that's why I think Alan Green sort of caught and hurt Kessler in the first round. Just cobwebs really. I think that in this fight, I'm going to pick Kessler by stoppage. I'm going to go for round 9. I think early on it may be a bit of a stalemate, but I think as the fight goes on, eventually, as they both begin to tire, I actually think Kessler might catch Magee, and I think he's actually going to hurt Magee. Maybe a TKO. I think he'll stop Brian Magee. it'll be difficult because, like I said, Magee is quite durable, but I think that Kessler has power. We saw that against Alan Green. He has one punch power, and if Magee's not careful, he can end the show very quickly. So I think that both of these guys have a decent amount of power, slightly more for Kessler. Both of these guys do tend to lunge in a little bit, so they are both sometimes vulnerable to counters, vulnerable to shots. That could be interesting in this fight. I just think that Magee's never quite been world title material. He's always sort of fallen at the final hurdle. I've never felt he's been world class as Mikkel Kessler has been all these years, and I think that Mikkel Kessler will prove his worth in this fight, prove his level above. I kind of see him as a Brian Magee Mark II, if you like, based on his last performance. If he comes back to his best, kind of fights in a similar way, I see. But I think, with a bit sharper, a bit better skills, and, more world level than Brian Magee. I think it's going to show in this fight. I think he's actually going to stop Magee. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to stop it here. Like I said, it's going to be quite brief. But let me know what you guys think. What chance do you think Magee can actually do this? Do you think he's going to get this title? I don't see it myself. I think Kessler's going to win the fight either way, but I actually think he will stop Magee. So thanks for watching. This is Box Spread, and I'm out.